week 9 of the fantasy basketball season. And what a season it's been so far. And this season, it's going pretty quick here. These are the crucial weeks now where we're in the mid-season before your playoffs, if you have playoffs in your fantasy basketball leagues. But anyway, here's a few forwards I would look to trade off or sell high this week. The first guy is Jerami Grant of the Detroit Pistons. And Grant, I've been saying him most of the season, he's not going to sustain these stats. And right now, he's a little bit in a tailspin on the season. He's ranked 33 in fantasy basketball, 23 points a game, 5.4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.2 blocks a game, 2.5 threes a game, 87% from the foul line, and 43% from the field. But the last 2 weeks, his ranking is down to 81 overall with 20 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.3 blocks a game, 2.5 threes, and an awful 38% from the field. So Jerami Grant, he's the main man there in Detroit. And now with Blake Griffin not going to play anymore until they trade him, he's going to be the guy there where defenses, they're going to roll to Grant the coverage. Blake Griffin, he's not going to be playing. Derrick Rose, they traded to the New York Knicks last week. So right now, Jerami Grant, all defenses are going to be focused on him, and I don't think he's going to keep up these numbers. And we've seen it the last 3 games now. The big numbers have dropped off. February 11th versus Indiana, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. And then at Boston, February 12th, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. And then February 14th versus New Orleans, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 3 threes. So a few weeks ago, his averages were about 25 points a game. Now they drop into 23. And I think Grant finishes the season with only 18 to 20 points a game on average. And he's a player I would try to get off my roster right now before his value goes back to basic type of value. And I would try to sell him high because now he's going to be postponed to February 19th. You're going to miss 2 games out of him tonight and tomorrow night from Grant. So I would look to get rid of him if I can for a decent ball player or whatever the case may be, because I don't think he's going to average 23 points when the season comes to an end, and I would get rid of him before his numbers really take a hit like they have so far the last 3 games. Next player I would look to trade off this week's Anthony Davis of the Los Angeles Lakers. So Anthony Davis, he re-aggravated his Achilles, but the MRI came back that it was a calf strain, and now it's going to cost Davis 2 or 3 weeks of the season. And pretty much every season it's something with Anthony Davis, with an injury, his arms, his shoulders over the years. Now the leg and calf injury on the season, he's ranked 25th in fantasy basketball, 22.5 points a game, 8.4 rebounds, 3 assists a game, 1.3 steals, 1.8 blocks a game. Not even hitting a 3 a game, and 53% from the field. So this season, Davis, his stats have taken a hit a little bit. His points per game have gone down 4. His threes a game have gone down 0.5. His free throw percentage down 13%. And his field goal actually has gone up 3. But I think Anthony Davis this season, he wasn't in the best shape coming into training camp. And plus the quick turnaround could have been an impact as well. And now it's going to cost them 2 or 3 weeks. But I think the Lakers are definitely going to be cautious with him. The Lakers, they're one of the best teams in the league, if not the best right now. And they don't need Davis for most of the regular season, in my opinion. And the last few games before he got hurt, February 12th versus Memphis, 35 points, 9 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, and a block. And then half the game versus Denver in 14 minutes, Davis got things going, 15 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. So Anthony Davis, he was starting to get things going in his last 3 games before he got injured. But now they're going to be cautious with him. I think he's going to be out at least a month, maybe more. And if I'm a Davis owner, I'm definitely looking to trade him and trying to get anything of decency. And I think his value is still good enough where you could get a top player or 2 in a trade for Anthony Davis. And I'm not going to wait around for him, in my opinion. And so far, his stats, like I said, they haven't been as good as last season. So I think I would trade Davis off and try to get some decent pieces for him, even though his value isn't at his highest right now. The next forward I look to trade this week's Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. And Julius Randle, he's been a monster this season for the Knicks and fantasy owners. And the Knicks in the offseason, they almost traded Randle pretty much for nothing. But now Randle, he's paying off big time for Tom Thibodeau and this New York Knicks team. He's ranked 23rd in fantasy basketball, 23 points a game, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists for Randle, 1.8 threes a game, 80% from the foul line, and 47% from the field. And in the last 2 weeks, he's really taken off with 30 points a game, 12 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 3.3 threes a game, 81% from the foul line, 55% from the field. Julius Randle, this season, he came into great shape with this Knicks team. He lost a lot of weight. He got quicker. He worked on his game, and especially his outside shooting. And the last few games, he's really went off for fantasy owners, and his value is at an all-time high and peak high right now. February 12th at Washington, a huge double-double, 24 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 threes, 53% from the field. February 13th versus Houston, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, a three-pointer, 46% from the field. And 2 nights ago versus Atlanta, his best game of his career, 44 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a whopping 7 threes, and 63% from the field. So he's a crazy sell-high candidate right now is Randle with these huge ball games. He's just coming off here for this Knicks team. And I don't think he's going to sustain these numbers the rest of the year like this. The 23 and 11 is very impressive. But the games where he's having high rebound games, I think that's going to go down. We saw him have the 18 rebound game like I mentioned on the 12th, but I think he could still get 8 or 9 rebounds a game. And I think the points per game are going to drop off as well. I think he finishes the season as a 20-10 guy and not a 23 and 11 or 12 guy is Randle. But he's playing great, no doubt about it. And if you get blown away with an offer, or you could trade him for 2 decent players, this is the time to do it with Julius Randle. So I would look to trade him and sell him high, but it's got to be the right deal. The next forward I would look to trade this week is Tobias Harris to the Philadelphia 76ers. Tobias Harris, he's been a very good player for the Sixers this year. Very consistent, very trustworthy, and a player who hasn't really missed any games. And on the season, he's ranked 27th in fantasy basketball, 20.7 points a game, 7.4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.8 threes a game, a nice 90% from the foul line, 52% from the field for Harris. And in the last 2 weeks, his ranking's number 15th in this time, 21.7 points a game, 8.6 rebounds, 4 assists a game, a 3 a game, 53% from the field to Tobias Harris. He's been a huge player for this ball club, and he's scoring the basketball at a great rate. He's rebounding pretty good this season as well, but I don't know if he's going to sustain it. Joel Embiid, he missed a couple ball games, and that's why the numbers have been inflated the last few games for Harris. February 11th at Portland, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and he shot 33% from the field, which is horrible. Then at Phoenix, February 13th, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a whopping 77% from the field. And then February 15th at Utah, he went off 36 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 threes, 58% from the field for Harris. So that game alone, I think you could sell him off as a sell-high candidate. I don't think he's going to have many games where he cracks 30-plus points again this season. Like I said, you got Simmons, you got Joel Embiid, you got Seth Curry, who takes a lot of shots and scores. You got Shake Milton, Tyrese Maxey off the bench. They got a lot of options over there in Philly. But after a huge game like that, he's definitely a sell-high candidate. But he's played pretty well this whole season, is Harris. And it's got to be the right deal to sell him off. But I think this is the week you could sell him high after a huge game like that. And the fifth and final forward, I would look to sell high or trade this week's Myles Turner of the Indiana Pacers. Myles Turner, he's just not consistent enough for me. And I know he's a great shot blocker. I know he has some huge games and double-doubles and stuff, but I don't think he's going to sustain it. And we've seen it this season, the inconsistencies. On the season, he's ranked 13th, 13.4 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 3.5 blocks a game, 1.5 threes a game, 77% from the foul line, and 50% from the field, but the last 2 weeks, the numbers have dropped like I expected. 10.4 points a game, 6.1 rebounds, 2.1 blocks, 1.3 threes, and 44% from the field, ranked 64th in that time. And I think Turner, that's what you're going to get from him. You're not going to get consistency, and the numbers are going to drop. The block shots, 3.5 a game. I don't think he sustains it at all, and that's why his ranking is so high this season, because 13-6, that's not a crazy output for fantasy, and the 50% from the field on the season. So the shot blocks, they're going to go down. In the last few games, they definitely have. February 11th, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 threes, 66% from the field. Then February 13th at Atlanta, he had a nice ball game, 19-10, 2 blocks, 2 threes, 54% from the field. And then versus Chicago, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 6 blocks. So the scoring and the rebounding isn't that great, but with the shot blocks alone, I still think Turner is a sell-high candidate, especially after coming off a 6-block game 2 nights ago for Turner. But I would definitely sell him high. The scoring inconsistent, or the rebounding and the block shots is definitely going to drop. So that's a few forwards I'd look to sell high here in Week 9 of the fantasy basketball season.